Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of The Summer of Me. It is a beautiful sunny little fall day here in Nashville, and it feels appropriate that we talk about the holidays as we are encroaching on the season. 'Tis the season. As far as I'm concerned, we just should skip right through Halloween and bop right into the Christmas holiday. But that is my personal opinion. Anyways, we're talking about holiday traditions. We're talking about holidays with a family who has two separate households, whether you're separated or divorced, and how to navigate all of it. And I'm also going to dive into all of my favorite holiday traditions, the things that we do that have worked for our family together and separate over the years, and things like that I picked up from being raised a certain way and whatever. I love hearing other people's holiday traditions. I think it's such a fun peek into people's lives. And one of the things that I kind of love about the internet is you'll hear a tradition and be like, oh, I'm going to do that. I'm going to start that. I do not think it's ever too late to start a tradition. And I think that sometimes we get debilitated by well, I wasn't raised with this, or my family had no traditions. You make the rules. This is our place. We make the rules, in the words of Taylor Swift. Not a Swiftie, but I do know the lyrics. Anyways, I really think that it's so fun to create traditions. And when you have kids, you kind of start to feel this burden a little bit, well, shit, I got to come up with some traditions or whatever. And there's no rules. Truly, you can create it. You can make anything into a tradition. I have a friend, her name's Carissa, and one of the things I love about her so much is that everything that she does in her life, almost becomes this tradition. We order this drink on this day, or we go to this restaurant on this day. And she's created so many incredible traditions just by repetitive behavior. And I don't know, I kind of admire it because she has something to look forward to around every corner. It's well, on the 1st of October, we always do this or this, and I think that obviously we think a lot about a lot about traditions when it comes to the holidays, but I think that you can create traditions in any part of your year, and in any facet of your life. So anyways, I want to talk about my holiday traditions, the things that I've done since I was a kid, the things that I've started since having kids. When you get a divorce and your family kind of separates, it feels very wait, do we still do this tradition? Is it weird? Is this sad? I don't, how does this all work? And so I've navigated that over the past few years, and some of the traditions I've kept, and some of them I have left and started new traditions with the kids. And I think that that evolves as you bring somebody else into your life, and just as you get older and your kids get older, you're not doing the same things maybe as when they were toddlers. So anyways, without further ado, first and foremost, I want to address this because I know that this is a question that comes up online all the time, in emails, DMs, whatever. How do we do the holidays? What's our split? And this is very different for everybody. Everything on my podcast, but especially stuff like this, is very personal. This is what we've decided works best for us. It's what we decided when we signed our divorce papers, so to speak. But it's not necessarily what works for everybody. Obviously, every situation is really different and dependent on your scenario. So when we kind of decided our parenting plan or whatever, one of the things that you work up is holidays. So our holidays go even and odd years. I don't know exactly how we divided it in terms of who gets even and who gets odd, but basically on even years, I have these 3 holidays, and Colin has the other 3 holidays. And then on odd years, so it just goes back and forth every single year. And it makes it really easy to know, okay, it's 2024. These are my holidays for the year. And then we also do the break, spring break, fall break that way. And then for Christmas, for example, so Thanksgiving is usually you have the kids on Thanksgiving. For Christmas, it's a little bit different because it feels well, I just don't want to just be without my kids all of Christmas, the whole Christmas holiday. And I would think this is very similar for if you celebrate Hanukkah or something like that. It feels like a lengthier holiday. So we separate out the holiday by somebody has the kids from when they get out on Christmas break or holiday break, when they get out, and have them through Christmas Eve until Christmas Day at 12 o'clock. And then Christmas Day at 12 o'clock, they switch, and they have the other parent from that point until they go back to school after the New Year holiday. We are very flexible. We have a great co-parenting relationship. And so sometimes if one of those stretches and the holiday between Christmas Day and like when they go back to school is much longer. I think it's like 2 or 3 weeks versus like the 1 week leading up to Christmas. And so like usually we'll do like the week through New Year's and then like kind of go back to our regularly scheduled programming until they go back to school. But it just depends, and it makes it really obviously if you have a good, healthy co-parenting relationship, like you can kind of communicate and be like, well, hey, like I have this, or I want to go on this trip or whatever. And if you don't, like, then you have to stick to your schedule more rigidly. And, you know, that presents its own set of challenges, but, that's what's always worked for us. And there is like these moments of like sadness where you're like, man, holidays without your kids, when you have kids, feel just rude. Honestly, you're just like, fuck, this sucks, because you are so accustomed, like holidays really do become about your kids when you have kids. And I feel like for me, it's been like, how do I fill my time elsewhere? Like, how do I, you know, you find friends or you find people, family, like who are like, you can travel to those places or they come to you. And so like for Christmas Eve this year, for example, I don't have the kids, which feels like, how do you not have your kids on Christmas Eve? It feels so sad, but also like I chose this. And so like I'll go spend Christmas Eve with one of my really good friends and her family and just do it that way. And it's just like, that's a new tradition. That's a new thing that I'll have to do. And I guess some of it's rolling with the punches and some of it's accepting that like, man, this reality sucks. And, you know, that's just the choices I've made in my life, I guess. But anyways, that's how it kind of works for us. My outlook on holidays is like, you really can make whatever day special. And so for me, like with not having the kids Christmas Eve, we'll do Christmas morning on the 26th. So we'll make Christmas Day our Christmas Eve, so to speak. We'll do dinner, like we'll get excited. We'll, you know, set out cookies and all that kind of stuff and celebrate Christmas morning like it's the next morning. So everybody can like wake up and open presents instead of like trying to cram it in all day. I think we get so locked into thinking like Christmas is only one day. Like Christmas is whatever the hell you make it. And while my kids are old enough to like know what day of the year it is, I think that like, especially when you have two separate families, we even see this in like when you're married and you have in-laws, it's like everybody you can't do everything in one day. And so it's like, how do we celebrate with these people and this people? And growing up, we always did like my dad's side of the family on Christmas Eve and my mom's side of the family on Christmas Day. And so just kind of figuring out what works for you and, you know, what works for you and your family, whatever that might look like. Okay. So I know you guys love a list. You know, I love a list. We're just going to go down the list of like random things we do for the holidays. I'm only doing like Halloween, Thanksgiving, and Christmas, and then into New Year's. I know that like there's like 4th of July and, you know, other random holidays, but I don't know. We're keeping it festive. We're keeping it timely for the time of year. Halloween, I'm going to be honest with you guys. I am not a Halloween girl. I don't like dressing up. I don't like decorating for it. I don't like all the creepy things. I am very creepy adverse. I don't like any of the decorations. I'm just very like, I would like to put up my Christmas tree October 1st, but I realize that's not very PC around here. I don't know. So for Halloween, I would say that only like there's a few things we do. We obviously always go to the pumpkin patch. I let the kids pick out whatever the hell they want for the front porch. Like, you know, we don't do pumpkins and stuff inside. And so I kind of let them go ham on the front porch because I feel like that's just like you're decorating for fall. We do boob eggs. So I usually will go to Target and get like a bunch of just chintzy shit basically. And like the sunglasses and the pencils and the, you know, candy and whatever. And I let like, we will fill, Target always has like cute little festive bags and we put a bunch of stuff in that. And the kids' favorite part is honestly ding dong ditching like all their friends and their neighbors. And so we'll just go like, we usually do this like the week leading up to Halloween. So like sometime this week we would do it and we will doorbell ditch people and like leave a cute little treat bag. And then you can find them on Pinterest or anywhere online and you just print out like a boo printable. You've been booed basically. And it just kind of encourages them to like pass it on. I've seen adults do this where they like drop off like a bottle of wine and some like cheese and crackers or, you know, whatever. But the kids love to build the bags. They love to decide like whose house we're going to. We make a whole thing of it and like put on like a Halloween playlist in the car and like just like spend an afternoon going and like driving around to their little friends' houses, ringing the doorbell. They leave the bag and like think it's like legit that they get to like ring the doorbell and run away. So that is like really the big one. Obviously they dress up in their costumes and we do like trick or treating and pictures and, things like that. Years past, we actually didn't do it this year, but years past, we've always done like pumpkin carving or pumpkin painting. If you are like, the pumpkin carving situation is such a hot mess, I'm here for that. And we've done like painting our pumpkins instead. And then like roasting the sunflower seeds or roasting the pumpkin seeds. I'm telling you, I'm not a very fun Halloween mom. They do like their school parties and things like that, but I really go all in on Christmas and Thanksgiving. So I feel like Halloween is like one of those things where they have enough magic with like everything else going on. We go back and forth with Halloween. Whoever's day it falls on is like whoever has the kids on that day. And so typically like we'll get together still on Halloween. Like whoever's not like doesn't have the kids that night, we'll still like come along, go trick or treating, or at least like see them, do some pictures, whatever. And I think when you're framing holidays with like a divorced family, like when you're framing it, like what do the kids want? Like the kids want to show both their parents their costumes. And so even if you're at odds, like trying to figure out a way to be like, hey, why don't you like come over for like 20 minutes or like setting a timeline. Again, I know that like I speak from a place of like having a healthy co-parent relationship, and there's, you know, always situations where like there's abuse or like the parent doesn't even want to be there or whatever. But I would say like if you have a situation where you can make it work, thinking about like what's best for the kids and like what do they want to do. And I know for my kids, like they don't care who like has them that night. They truly just like want to show everybody and anybody their costume. They're like, look at me. I don't even know. My younger girls this year dressed it up as Descendants. Bellamy and Winnie dressed up as Glinda the Good Witch and Dorothy from The Wizard of Oz. And then I think Baylor's dressing up as the guy from Back to the Future, but I don't fully know. The kids really have taken ownership and shopped on Amazon for all the parts of their costume. Okay, that puts a little bow on Halloween. We're done with her. Thanksgiving. Okay, you guys, Thanksgiving to me is basically the appetizer to Christmas is how I feel about it. And if your tree is not up by Thanksgiving, you're really missing out because it just really makes the whole experience feel festive and cozy and everything. So we always set up the tree before Thanksgiving. That's like leading up to Thanksgiving. The tree goes up in those like, you know, the weeks between Halloween and Thanksgiving, depending on if you get a real tree or fake tree. I have always done a fake tree, not growing up. Growing up, like we were hardcore about having a real tree. I do a fake tree only because I like to have it up for longer. But I think it's the year we do a real tree. So TBD on that. Here are some of the things. So we always watch the Macy's Day Parade Thanksgiving morning while we're like cooking, getting things ready. My parents always hosted Thanksgiving. One of the best ways I think you can kind of give back for Thanksgiving and even Christmas, honestly. We always had so many stragglers in our house on Thanksgiving. Like it was like whoever needed a place to go, wanted a place to go, everybody's friend was welcome. Like there was no rules on who you could invite to Thanksgiving. And there always ended up being like a bajillion people at my parents' house. And it wasn't like my mom, like, I mean, I feel like my parents would make this like a good, beautiful dinner, but it wasn't like, I did not grow up like, oh, so wealthy and we have like this mansion. Like it was like 100 people crammed into like a tiny ass dining room, little kitchen. Like there was always something spilled. It was chaos in the best way. And like as a kid, we loved that. And so I think if you're like, okay, I have, you know, for me, I have 5 kids, like trying to get to like a soup kitchen on Thanksgiving Day to like volunteer, like you don't have to make it complex. Obviously those things are wonderful if you can do like Meals on Wheels or, you know, donate to some of those causes or volunteer at some of those places. I know like pet shelters on holidays like get really overwhelmed because people aren't available. Like there's so many ways to kind of give back for the holidays. And I was always demonstrated in our house. Like my parents always were like, everybody is welcome. We like will welcome anybody into our home, feed them a warm meal and like treat them like family. We have done in the past, Winnie was born a week before Thanksgiving. And so there's been a couple years where like we've had an infant or like just like life has been chaotic and we've ordered out for Thanksgiving dinner. Like we've done like Daru was a place in Seattle that we would get like catering orders from, but there's a lot of restaurants where you can like actually buy an entire Thanksgiving meal and like they put it in like containers that you can reheat easily. If you are somebody who like gets overwhelmed or stressed by cooking, this is a really fun and easy option because you end up spending probably less, honestly. Like cooking a Thanksgiving dinner is expensive as hell. And so like sometimes you spend less and it's like you don't have to spend the whole day cooking. You might like, I think in years like we've done that, I might have like made a pie or a dessert or something like that. And you don't have to worry about the cooking. You just get to like set a pretty table and enjoy like what somebody else has made. A special tablecloth. We've done this where like you pick the same tablecloth every year that comes back out at Thanksgiving dinner and we'll put like markers, like Sharpies on the table. So I'll do like a piece of paper under it and then like the tablecloth and people can sign it. And so like then when you lay it back out, it's like so fun to see like, okay, who's been here this year? Who sat at this seat like that year? It's a really fun way. Like the kids sign it. I don't let the kids go ham on it because I'm like, I don't want like, you know, stupid little like chaos all over it. Stupid little chaos. I sound like such a bitch. I don't want their stupid, ugly drawings. No, I just like want it to be like who was there that year, like kind of a memento. Kind kind of a memento. So feel like a special tablecloth, get like a white linen tablecloth, something that's going to last, something that's going to wash well, and get some like a fresh set of Sharpies. And it's a really fun way to like bring the kids into it, bring your guests into it. People can like, write a joke, write a memory, whatever. The Thanksgiving tablecloth will live on forever and ever. And I guarantee you, like, one of my kids will probably like fight for it when it's their turn to host Thanksgiving. Friendsgiving, I think this is always like people do this like the week before Thanksgiving. I love like elongating a holiday. And I think that's one of the things that makes traditions so fun is you don't have to do a tradition like the day before the holiday or on the holiday. I think it's really fun to just be like, let's do a Friendsgiving. Let's do like a girls' Thanksgiving dinner, like figuring out like how you can kind of take the holiday and like extend it a little bit. And so Friendsgiving, like having all your friends over, even if it's like, let's do Friendsgiving and order Chinese food, or like, let's make a Mexican food Friendsgiving, like just getting everybody. I think the point of Thanksgiving is like getting together with all the people that you love. This is not something I've done, but I've seen people do this on like Instagram and stuff. And I always think it's really cute, is like getting a little notebook, journal, whatever. And that is like your holiday journal, like where you pass it around the table. So it's almost like a guest book for Thanksgiving, and everybody like writes what they're thankful for and like, or like a memory from the year or whatever. You can do this at Christmas time too. And you pass it around, and then you put it back in your like holiday decor box or whatever until the next year. And then you get it back out. And like, you guys know I love writing things down. I love looking back, and it's so fun to be able to like see like, okay, what were we doing last year at this time? Like, I know my life has changed so dramatically in the last 5 years. And so I can't even imagine like, had I done this, I like regret not doing it. It's something we're going to start this year, especially now that the kids can all write and like, write their names, write their memories. Like, how fun. Can you imagine in like 15 years looking back and being like, oh, look at Memphis's handwriting. Like, look at what we were thankful for this year. Like how different our life was. We lived here and we lived in this house. Like, I think just, it's a really fun way to remember the holidays. The thing about traditions, side note, is that they take intention. I really think if you are intentional about the traditions that you are creating, intentional about the memories you're making, they don't have to be elaborate. They don't have to be expensive. They don't have to be fancy. They just have to be like filled with intention and like how, like it's something that comes up every single year. So what are some of the ways that you want to like mark it down in history and like remember it and have those like little things that keep you like every year, like, oh, I can't wait to write in this year. I can't wait to look back. It's like decorating your Christmas tree with ornaments. It's like, how many times do you just love looking back at those ornaments and being like, oh, I totally remember when we got that. I remember where we were. Puzzles. Okay, you guys, I'm a puzzle advocate. I would just like to, part of my presidential campaign is that there is a puzzle on the dining room table year round, but specifically in the months from September through January, you need to have a puzzle on your table. It brings people together. I'm telling you, if there's a puzzle on my table, there are at least 2 children sitting there visiting with me, working on it, dilly-dallying. Like, it keeps people off their phones. If you have guests over, my parents are coming into town for Thanksgiving this year, and there will be a puzzle nonstop on the table because it is truly such a fun way to gather people, especially if you're not like we're not big drinkers. So it's like, okay, it's not like everybody, let's go let's have cocktails or whatever. It's like, it just is a way to gather people without feeling like you have to have some reason to do so. I don't know how to explain it. It's just cozy too. Like, it feels so cozy. You get like, I get a lot of puzzles on Amazon or like local stores, like a White's Mercantile, and just like, it's, even if I put it on the table, we don't even start it for like 4 days. It's just like sitting there, and then somehow naturally somebody like might move a piece or like might start collecting the edge pieces, and then somebody like builds this section, and before you know it, like everybody's sitting around, they're like vying to put the last piece in, and it is just the best way for the holidays to like bring people together. Having a consistent recipe to make. My mom growing up, she always made like homemade pumpkin roll, and it's just like pumpkin bread with cream cheese frosting, and you roll it up, and she would kill me if I said it was that simple, because it's not. She slaved over this, and like the homemade cream cheese frosting, the whole thing. I cannot look at a pumpkin roll without thinking about my mom on Thanksgiving, and I like carrying that recipe and that tradition on. And so if it's something that your parents made or something that you just remember from being a child, or like, again, you don't have to have this recipe from childhood. Like, go create it. Like, what's a recipe that you like want to make? And then you make it every single year. That is how you build a tradition. You repeat the behavior. So I think like sticking to certain recipes that you always make on certain holidays. And I would like to say, like, do not lose the novelty of that by being like, oh, I really want like that pumpkin roll. No. We don't make the pumpkin roll outside of Thanksgiving weekend. Like, absolutely not. That you're breaking the rules. And it doesn't feel like a tradition when you can make it any time of year. It's a tradition because you only make it that time of year. And that's what makes it special. My mom used to make the pumpkin roll, and like she would put like doggy scraps, basically. Like the pumpkin roll has to be like perfectly cut on the ends. So like whatever like the jagged edge, whatever the jagged edge was, she would put on like a little saucer, like a coffee cup saucer. And we would like sit on the couch on Thanksgiving morning and like pass the plate of scraps around. And like, it was so, because we were like, hell yeah, this is gonna be so good later. But we get like a little taste test. We have done decorating placemats. I'm always looking for easy ways for the kids to contribute without them getting in my way. I'm going to be really honest. This is not a popular opinion. I fucking hate cooking with kids. It is stressful. It is messy. It is frustrating as hell. I know some people, it's their spiritual gift. It is not mine. Get out of my GD kitchen. So I'm always trying to figure out ways to keep the kids entertained for the holidays without being in my way. I love them so much, but don't touch my fucking mashed potatoes. Anyways, so I get like things like placemats, or like Mary Mary is a brand you can get on Amazon, and they're like large rolled like coloring papers basically. And I'll get like a bunch of markers, set it up on the table, and then I'm like, you guys get to decorate the tablecloth or like the table runner or whatever. And, or the placemats, or make little name cards for Thanksgiving dinner. Just get them involved in some way. If you like cooking with them, great. Leads me to another thing that I think is so cute with kids is I obviously have girls, so they're more like, my girls are way more interested in cooking than Baylor might be, like, but I think boys, girls, whatever, like if you are like great at cooking with kids, giving them one thing that they make every single year, because when they like think about when they get to college, or when they like have a girlfriend and they go to her house or fiance, like they go to her house for Thanksgiving, like for Baylor to be able to be like, yeah, gravy is my specialty. Like I grew up making my gravy with my mom. God, now I feel like a freaking asshole that I don't like. Maybe this year is the year that I like employ Baylor to cook with me, because I do love like the idea of it. But I think it's a really cute tradition to have one kid be responsible for. Obviously, I have enough kids to cook an entire meal. If you only have one or two kids, it's probably a little bit easier. But like having that kid be responsible for that, like pumpkin pie. When I would go to Thanksgiving dinner at Colin's family's house, one of his cousins, Connor, always made the apple pie, and the grandmother taught him to make it. And like now he's married, and like he's like the apple pie maker. And I always thought it was like so cute and like such a fun way to have like that tradition. So now I'm just really gonna challenge myself. Don't hold your breath though. Okay, another thing we always do after Thanksgiving dinner is the kids sit down and make their Christmas lists, and it's just like such a fun way to turn the page into Christmas. We like obviously always have the Christmas tree up, and it's like feels Christmassy already, but really getting them like so excited. So we do Christmas jammies on Thanksgiving Eve. They get a fresh set of Christmas jammies, and we make our Christmas lists. And that's kind of like a fun way to like wrap the evening up, because we'll eat like at 2 or 3 in the afternoon, and then they get a fresh set of Christmas pajamas. Like I have them like on a little notebook, and they write down their Christmas list, and then everybody like hangs it on the fridge, and it's just such a fun tradition. And we watch The Holiday. So like that's kind of like our leading into Christmas night holiday, or we've watched Family Stone, but that one is sad. Obviously at the table, like going around saying things you're thankful for. And just really like, I think that's a non-negotiable at our Thanksgiving table, no matter how many people are there, is we've always gone around and said like, what's something that you're thankful for this year? Obviously I talk a lot about like practicing gratitude. We talk to our kids a lot about practicing gratitude, but I think there's something different about like you in your head being like, I'm thankful for my house, I'm thankful for my kids, and like saying it out loud in front of like a table of people. Like, what are you really thankful for the year? And it's always wonderful and like so heartwarming to hear about like what people are grateful for the year. And just like, you know, sometimes it can be like very meaningful. So that's okay. So that's Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving to you and all of you who celebrate. We're going to hold please for Christmas, because we have so many traditions. So thank you guys for listening, and we'll be back with all of our Christmas traditions. Thanks for listening to The Summer of Me. You can listen to episodes on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you listen to podcasts, or you can watch on YouTube. Come hang out and follow my chaos on Instagram at Kendra for now. See you next time.